Hi, hello, and welcome to LearnStroke IAS classes by Arjun. You're listening to the editorial analysis and the important editorial summary for the current affairs for UPSC 2024 examination. This is class number 15, and you're with me, Arjun R. Shankar. So let's quickly move on to the important editorials of the day. Here we go. The first one, it's the fear factor. So it clearly talks about GS paper 3 economy perspective, because this is some area that every time you see the editorial, you'll get a lot of editorials regarding to inflation. It's a very classic topic in economics, and a very important for UPSC prelims as well as mains. But in prelims, normally you get this question: what happens? So you know that inflation means the prices increasing, and you know the deflation means the prices decreasing. So inflation. So in this context of inflation, you must have heard about the food inflation and the general inflation. And what is the RBI? We normally see that how does the RBI normally respond to inflation? What are the important things, and what is monetary policy, and what are the important things that RBI does? So all these are important things. So whenever you can see inflation happening, you can see the inflation projections, etc. So this whole article talks about inflation, managing inflation, and especially from the perspective of consumer inflation. So what is the concept of consumer inflation? So in this concept, you must have heard about the concept of consumer price index or wholesale price index. So what is the difference between CPI, WPI? Is something that I hope you know, because you must have been preparing for this, so you must be knowing. So generally, I'll also give you a small brief of that. So let's apply the IAS filter and move on to the important contents here. Number one is consumer inflation. What is the concept of consumer inflation? So before we go on to the article, let's get the basics right. So I'm just trying to tell you the basics here. So the consumer inflation in India refers to the rate at which the general level of prices, so that is the rate, number one, at what? The general prices of goods and services, very good, goods and services purchased by the households or common consumers. It is consumed by the consumers within the country, again within the country, increases over a specific period. So that is the key word, it has increases. So consumer inflation, number one, it is the rate. So let's take it, rate at the general level of prices. General level of prices for what? Goods and services of purchase by the households within the country has increased. So this is definitely the consumer inflation. And so normally you can say it's often measured by something called as consumer price index, CPI, and you must have also heard about WPI. So we need to know an idea about what is the difference between CPI, WPI, etc. So CPI, what is CPI? It tracks the changes in the prices of basket of commodities. So it's actually like a basket. You have a basket of commodities, consumed, commonly consumed goods and services, such as it is actually households or the common consumers are consuming. If you want to check out that, you should know we are the common consumers, like food, clothing, housing, transportation, etc. So the general price increase in these things is often called as consumer inflation. And have you experienced inflation when the price has gone up? So it is often expressed in percentages as the rate at which the cost of living is rising for an average customer. So imagine you were used to getting X at 10 rupees, but after 2 weeks you see that if you want to purchase the same X, it is actually giving 15 rupees. So 5 rupees has actually increased. It has actually increased. So that is actually a common example. And always understand CPI, we are discussing WPI also. So CPI, when you discuss CPI, it is released by the National Statistical Office or NSO. So just to give you a brief, and now let's check into the editorial. The editorial says inflation relief in September. Consumer inflation in India dropped to 5%. So definitely, I hope now you know what you mean by consumer inflation. It has dropped to 5%, providing relief after a spike in prices since July. So prices were high from July, and it has dropped to 5%. And in this context, what is RBI's tolerance range? The RBI believes that the the inflation should be within the range of 2 to 6%. If it is actually within the 2 to 6% range. If it is actually between 2 to 6% range, it is really, really good. And the RBI's ideal inflation rate is 4%. And the central bank remains focused on achieving this target. So 2 to 6% is a tolerable range. That is the right. It's called tolerable range, and 4% is really good. And but we have dropped to 5%. It's better than having a higher inflation. It's always better to have this 5%. So this was the one of the important points, and our projections for future inflation suggest that the target may be challenging to meet. So getting a 4% target is going to be really tough. But the average RBI is expecting an average inflation of what? 5.4% for 23. So it has come down to 5, but we are expecting an average of at least 5.4% is something that we are expecting here. So 5.4% is something that we are expecting here. And even the World Bank and IMF are expecting 5.5 and 5.9. That is World Bank and IMF's projection that inflation is going to be this much. But now we have got 5, and getting into 4 is the real good thing. If we have it under 4, it's really good. So September's 5% inflation was influenced by the base effect. So that also brings us. So these are all the important concepts that we need to understand in economics. So in this editorial, I have the time constraint. So definitely explaining each and every concept of economy may be difficult, but definitely I hope you should know what is the base effect or what is the base price when you calculate CPI and WPI. There is something called as a base. You must have heard about the word called base pricing. So what is that? So the 5% inflation now is actually influenced by the base effects of 2022. And also you should decrease in prices of tomatoes, vegetables, LPG. So this decrease has also helped to bring down the inflation. So the food inflation has eased but remains a concern with varying inflation rates for different food items. And rural inflation is higher than the urban inflation. Again, the rural inflation is more higher than the urban inflation is a new thing that we can see. So all these are the important challenges. And it also talks about the wholesale price index. What is the WPI? And you can see a wholesale price index is an economic indicator used to measure the average change in the price of goods at the wholesale level in the country. So consumer price was at the household level. This is at the wholesale level. This is just concept builder. I'm trying to explain the concept, and it basically includes raw materials, intermediate goods, and finished products. So obviously it's at the wholesale level, and it covers various sectors like agriculture, manufacturing, mining, etc. It is who publishes it. CPI was published by who? But the WPI is published by the Office of Economic Advisor, Ministry of Commerce and Industry. So this can be expected question for the prelims also. So WPI is a key tool for measuring inflation in the economic trends, especially the manufacturing and production, because it's actually at the wholesale level, and the wholesale price index has remained deflationary. So that is WPI has remained deflationary. So inflation price rise, deflation price is coming down. In the 6th consecutive month, this trend may change. So this can really change in. So this is about the WPI. So I hope you got the identify between CPI and WPI. And next is what about the fuel and commodity price? The fuel prices have been stable due to government control. So again, fuel prices have come to control, but producers are increasing prices due to the rising global oil and gas price. You know that India is completely dependent on foreign oil, foreign gas, etc. So definitely we'll have to pay for all those things actually. So that is the concept of the global fuel prices has impacted, but definitely the government has controlled it. So September showed a temporary decrease in inflation, but there are challenges that it can actually go up. According to World Bank and IMF, it can go from 5.4 to almost 6%. But we will try to keep inflation under 4%. If possible, that is going to be really good. So that is the economics article to start off. It's actually not the question here, so it's for the next topic. So I'll put the question here again. This question was actually for the other topic. Okay, so let's move on to the next important article. Was regarding the Sri Lanka. I missed out the title actually because it's not the title actually. It was regarding you must have heard in the news that a ferry service is going to be starting from ferry service Because historically you will see, when you look at the map of India, you'll clearly see that this point in Sri Lanka, you will see a relationship between Tamil Nadu and Sri Lanka. And how can this both of them speak Tamil, and how is this possible? So it looks at from an international relations perspective also. How is India Sri Lanka relations going to be built on this basis? So I forgot to put the a corresponding article in this, so sorry for that. So let's applying the IS filter for this. Let's check out the ferry service and what is the international relations on that. So revival of a ferry service. So it's good. Have you ever wondered, when you look at Sri Lanka and Tamil Nadu, especially Rameshwaram, Nagapattinam and the regions, it's, you can see that if you visit Rameshwaram or Dhanushkodi, you must have seen Sri Lanka is very near. So you must have read, you must have thought it was so easy to actually travel in boat. So these are the waters where Sri Lankan fishing community is also very active in these regions. Sri Lankan fishing community is also active in this. So what if we can actually have a service from Nagapattinam to almost Sri Lanka? It's going to be a good thing. So that is something that we have to remember. A passenger ferry service has recently started operating between the Kankesan in Sri Lanka, Northern Province, and Nagapattinam in Tamil Nadu. So remember, Kankesan in Sri Lanka and Nagapattinam, you can see the map, Nagapattinam in Tamil Nadu. So this map is also important. The re-establishment of Sea Link fulfills a long-standing demand that was disrupted due to the civil war in Sri Lanka. So this was a long-term demand to have connectivity from this region to this region, but it's really good that this is happening now. So it will actually create more better ties with India and Sri Lanka. So let's check in more important points. So Sri Lanka, you must be knowing, civil wars have been continuing, and it's not a good thing that has happened in Sri Lanka. So disrupted traditional maritime routes. There were traditional maritime routes including Talaimannar to Rameshwaram and Colombo to Thoothukudi. That is Tuticorin. So you should see that Talaimannar to Rameshwaram, we had connections or maritime routes between Talaimannar and Rameshwaram and Colombo to Tuticorin, Thoothukudi. A previous ferry service between Colombo and Thoothukudi had failed due to lack of patronage. So definitely Sri Lanka is actually in the state of a crisis. Either it is economic crisis, or a political crisis. Sri Lanka has always seen, in the last 25 years, it has seen a lot of crisis. So now we need to have this maritime routes. So the region used to have a very popular boat mail connecting to Chennai and Talaimannar via Rameshwaram and Dhanushkodi through a rail link and a ferry. So that is very historical thing, okay? That is the boat mail which connects Chennai and Talaimannar via Rameshwaram and Dhanushkodi through rail link and then ferry. So you have a rail and then you have a ferry between Sri Lanka and India. So I think this is a good thing to be also noted here. So next is moving on. That is a historical part of this. And definitely it is going to improve the connectivity and tourism. It's a good thing. If Sri Lanka is a fantastic place to go. If there are no crises, it's really good to go. So the re-establishment of sea and air links have improved cultural and economic civilizational tie between India and Sri Lanka. So definitely sea route or air route, whatever, it is going to improve the connectivity and tourism. So remember from this point, connectivity and better tourism. What are the benefits and prospects? So it will cooperation in the disaster management and maritime security. So also remember, it is good for cooperation between India and Sri Lanka in what? Disaster management. When there is an issue, particular issue happening there, it's good for disaster management, and it's even good for the maritime security. It's even good for maritime security, and it's also it will also help us in the Sri Lankan refugees living in Tamil Nadu. They want to go back. A lot of people, the repatriates, a lot of people in Sri Lanka who want to go to Sri Lanka and who want to go back to Tamil Nadu. It's going to be a good thing. So cooperation, disaster management, maritime security, repatriation of Sri Lankan refugees. So tourism, connectivity, all these are important points that you have to remember. And what is the challenge and sustainability? So whether to resume the normal operations, it is going to take a lot of issues. Like the fare for ferry service is not competitive compared to airfare. So you should actually have an advantage. If you want to have a ferry service, it should actually be very competitive pricing. You have to be affordable. You have to make sure that everybody can get it. Then only connectivity, tourism, everything will prosper. But you can say that even it's not at a good pricing. The ferry service may not be at good pricing, and even baggage allowances and passenger amenities are suggested to attract more travelers. So again, we need to have more allowances on baggage, the materials that you take in, and good amenities for the people. So economic cooperation, especially from exports from the northern province of Sri Lanka, should be promoted. So again, that is again an import, a boost for trade. The northern province of Sri Lanka and export from this region should also be promoted, because definitely if there is a traveling going on, so that region where we are going to Sri Lanka, that part should also get benefited. So both governments need to ensure a sustained policy attention and to create a long-term success, and to support the economically backward region of Nagapattinam in Tamil Nadu. So it will also should also benefit Nagapattinam and the part of the place where we are going to in Sri Lanka, the Kangeshan, Thurai, and other regions where we are exactly going to promote this area. So if everything works out good, it's going to be a good thing. Now let's get the questions important. What is the historical context behind the disruption of traditional and maritime routes between India and Sri Lanka? And how have improved sea links and air links between the two countries strengthened cultural and economic ties? So how is the improved Sri Lanka sea and air links going to help India and Sri Lanka international relations is also another important area. So please do check out this, and let's quickly move on to the next important one, the explosion of digital uncertainty. Very important. It talks about GS paper 3, you can call science and technology, because this talks about artificial intelligence and also a bit of international relationship, because it is talking about the international countries. So it's written by the uh, the famous MK Narayanan, the very famous MK Narayanan, the former director of Intelligence Bureau. He was a former IB. You get a lot of good internal security related articles from MK Narayanan, and so please don't miss out such articles. So I'm just trying to explain the summary. Let's apply the IAS filter quickly and take the most important points. So the article talks about two important concepts. One is artificial intelligence, artificial intelligence, and also AGI. We've all heard about AI coming in. So what is the concept of AGI, and why should we worry about AGI? And we definitely, AI has got its own challenges. So how should we worry? The international community and the world, why should we worry about the AGI is the next important question that we have to understand. So let's get the basic. What is the difference between AI and even AGI? So let's understand. AI refers to the simulation of human intelligence in machines to perform specific tasks. It is a broad field that encompasses various techniques such as machine learning, natural language processing. So you know that AI, you must have heard about Chat GPT, everything which is actually helping humans in a lot of ways, the AI robots, etc. But AGI is much more different. AGI, it's much more different in the sense it is actually, it's a strong AI, or it's called full AI. It goes beyond a special. Say, imagine that this is the normal limit, and AI can actually work until this. So AGI goes a point beyond this. AGI goes beyond this point, and it can do functions beyond AI. That is why it's called strong AI or full AI. That means it aims to create machines that possess general intelligence similar to human beings. It can create machines. So one thing that you can understand is AGI is capable of doing things just like human beings. So don't you think that is a big challenge and a risk for humanity? Whether it is used in the right way, it's good. So that is a difference between AI and AGI. So let's deal more, and let's check out what the article has to say. Uh, let's quickly move on to generative artificial intelligence as the AI. It's getting more international attention. Definitely AI, there is a lot of advances in AI, and apart from same time, when you have advances, that means improvements, in AI. At the same time, you're also having problems, uncertainty in AI. And recently, the government of India has published a report on the implications of AI. It's going to be a big time challenge living in this world which is dominated by AI. because even the world controlled by humans is very difficult. But what is going to be the future with AI? So it's going to have a complex digital infrastructure. So the digital infrastructure is built upon complex layers of machine intelligence, software abstractions, and hardware components. So this sounds very difficult. Okay, you must be feeling that's very difficult. Machine intelligence, software abstraction. So all these are terms. These things are very difficult to learn by terms. But if you can get the concept right, it's good. If you cannot remember all this general abstraction, definitely you will forget this. So basically, understand there is a digital infrastructure. Always understand that there is a digital infrastructure like this. This is a digital infrastructure which is powering the big ball called AI. It's actually built on a lot of digital infrastructure. It's actually built on this. So when you have AI on all things coming, there is going to be a big risk. So just easily understand this concept. That is the key in this. And it also talks about cognitive warfare. What is this concept of cognitive warfare? So cognitive warfare is very similar to modern warfare domains like maritime and air. You can fire, you can kill a person in the fighter plane, you can kill in the sea, you can kill in the land, in the army. Likewise, it's going to be, you already know about cyber war. If you want to destroy a person, it need not be killing that person. You can destroy it cyber war and cyber crimes are also very important. So there is another world called cyber where we and you, everybody are actually do. So cognitive warfare involves using technology to manipulate human cognition. The manipulation can lead to loss of trust, confidentiality breaches, and altered behavior. So it can manipulate human cognition. So using technology to manipulate human cognition, human understanding, human mind. Just imagine, where is technology going? So cognitive warfare, it can be very dangerous than the normal warfare. It can completely change the persons. So AI driven threats and AGI. So what is the, so I forgot to tell you what is AGI. So we were discussing what is AI, artificial intelligence, artificial general intelligence. So AGI is artificial general intelligence. Sorry for not telling you before. So what is going to be AI driven threat and AGI's emergence? AI's growing influence can impact people's thinking and functioning. Like emergence of AGI poses even greater threats. AGI can replace human decision making. Is it really good? AI is normal simulation. It can do a lot of things. It can generate a lot of things. But artificial general intelligence is actually going to. It's almost a replacement of human things that you can do, and it's AGI, and that means it can work like the humans. Definitely. So definitely there are going to be social and economic issues and problems relating to all this. So remember AGI. And also it can cause political shifts and digital colonialism. You must have heard about colonialism, imperialism, cultural imperialism. What is this concept of digital colonialism? We can get this concepts for the essay exams also. What is the concept of digital colonialism? So AGI may lead to shifts in geopolitical power. The concentration of AGI power bases on a specific locations. See, imagine that this is the world. Say, take an example. AGI's center is actually in a place called, let's not say, imagine that this is in Russia, where there are a lot of hackers. Tech is it. Imagine that there are a lot of AGI's concentration is actually on a location like Russia. This could lead to digital colonialism. That means this place can actually colonize any place in the world digitally. Just like East India Company from London control the whole of the world, a place which has got the AGI capacity, everything will be from that place. So it will create digital colonialism, and with potential, it can be even worse than the East India Company. So what does the community says? We need to have a international collaboration between the states and the technology sector to manage AGI development. So it's not like managing AGI. It's more, it can replace humans. At one point of time, it will replace humans. So very deadly. So we need to have an international collaboration to regulate this thing is the key important aspect of this article. So let's take some important question. What are the primary challenges posed by digital uncertainty and cognitive warfare in the age of AI? So, what is the digital uncertainty, and what about the cognitive warfare? Very important. How does the potential emergence of AGI affect social, economic, and geopolitical landscape? What role does international collaboration play in addressing the risk and ethical concern associated with advanced AI and AGI technology? So, what is international collaboration is very, very important. So, please understand. I think it was a new information to a lot of people. AGI. Let's also talk about the next one. Talks about the Belt and Road Forum. So, you must have heard about this. What is the Belt Road Initiative of China? So, what this is very important for GS paper 2 international relationship. When you talk about China, you should see that. Imagine that who is controlling the world, because you must have heard about the ancient time when there was a silk route. Everybody want to go to China, so there was a route which transcended China, Asia, Africa, and even different parts of Europe. So there was a route through people came to China. So silk route is a historical concept. Definitely that is very historical, silk route. So in the modern times, China is trying to dominate the world. Definitely, that is the reason why United States of America doesn't like China, because China is trying to dominate, and China is slowly building the economic and political conditions to make sure. And BRI, the Belt Road Initiative, again, is going to be an economic infrastructure project. Imagine that it's a series of line like this. Just imagine trying to draw this. So just imagine that BRI. So China is, imagine that this is going from Asia, China to Africa, and then to Europe. So there is a land. So what is happening is China is creating infrastructure projects. China is investing in all the projects here. So this is a route it goes. China has invested here. China has invested small in this. This has invested a big thing here. China has again invested in a small thing. So doesn't mean that it's a big investment. So in this line from China to Asia to Africa to Europe, so whatever, like the old Silk Route used to do, China is slowly doing it, building infrastructure, and also it is funding. Why? Because imagine that this place has got China's support and has got an infrastructure. Imagine that it has constructed a big dam or something related to that. So obviously, when that is constructed, it is actually a friend of China, and it will listen to what China will say. So in the future, sorry, in the future, China can control all these things in the long run. So we'll have to discuss more about the BRI initiative. So quickly apply the IS filter. I just gave an introduction on that. Let's get the basics. This is actually a basics. The BRI is also known as the One Belt, One Road Initiative, or the OBOR, is a massive infrastructure and economic development project led by the Chinese government. So as I said, pumping more money. You pump in more money to create what? To create infrastructure, and whatever that you want to create, you create that. It was launched in 2013 by Chinese, the Xi Jinping, and is one of the most significant global infrastructure and economic development initiative in recent history. So you can remember this line. Whoever goes through this, whatever construction that you make here, definitely at one time, economically, you say that infrastructure and development is happening and China is helping that. But on the other hand, you will see that wherever there has development happened, everybody will actually listen to China, and they will be Chinese supporter, and China can have an influence on all these people. Just imagine, all these people are poor people. You need 5 rupees, you need 10 rupees, and you need 50 rupees. What happens is China gives you 20 rupees here. China, if you want 5, China gave you 20. You want 10, China gave you 30. You want 50, China gave you 100. So automatically you have a dependence on China, then you listen to China. So that is the diplomatic aspect of this, what can happen. So this is very much similar to the modern Silk Road, as it seeks to revitalize the trade routes historically between China to Europe, Asia, and Africa. So just like how it used to connect the other parts of the world, the OBOR or BRI is going to connect a lot of people. So this is the history. Now let's check the important points. So BRI often links to China's version of the Marshall Plan. So what in this concept is this Marshall Plan? What do you mean by the Marshall Plan? So let's quickly understand. During the Second World War, you will see that a lot of countries, after the especially the Western Europe countries, they were not in a position. War, Second World War drained out a lot of money. They did not have money, they did not have resources, they did not have anything. So without all this, how can you rebuild all these places? So that is the reason why United States of America's Marshall Plan was very important, where they funded all this. So let's understand and let's see what the Marshall Plan is. The world is calling BRI as the Marshall Plan, China's Marshall Plan. So the European Recovery Program, it's called European Recovery Program, was a US initiative designed to aid Western Europe in recovering from the devastation caused by Second World War. It was named after George Marshall, the US Secretary of State at that time, and it was operated in 1947, operated from 48 to 52. So the key thing is it is aiding, it's a European recovery program designed to aid Western Europe in recovering from devastation. So that is the reason why you fund it. You fund to create more development. So US funded the whole thing. So China's new thing can be a Marshall Plan, according to a lot of people. And China has invested heavily in infrastructure projects like it's just creating, as I said, creating a lot of demand on China. Over 200 BRI corporations, just imagine 200 plus BRI corporation agreements have been signed with 150 nations. And total two-way investments up to $380 billion. Just imagine, it's not only money. Just imagine 150 nations MOU with China means all of them have got a relationship between China, and China will definitely diplomatically impress all these countries. It's the next important thing. So will India like this? India will not like this, and America will not like this. And according to the World Bank, global infrastructure deficit, there are significant global infrastructure deficits in electricity. So globally, you know that there is a challenge in electricity, clean water, and broadband access. So there is a lot of challenge internationally, and this requires how to bring in electricity, how to bring clean water, how to bring broadband access. All of this need investments. You need money to bring all this. And China is definitely as good doing as a solution. So China's BRI can include motorways, power plants, ports, digital infrastructure. You know what? No, China is creating everything. So World Bank says that there is a demand, there is an international deficit. Somebody has to fund that. So China is already on that way. And also BRI has got a lot of criticism that China's infrastructure building process has destroyed a lot of, created an ecological damage, displacement of people, payment disputes, and labor issues. So examples are Indonesia, Laos, and Pakistan, where BRI's negative impacts has gone within local people. So definitely that is also, when there is a new initiative coming in, definitely there is going to be challenges, and that is the reason why it has created a lot of ecological damage and displacement of people also. So anyway, BRI is a very heated and trending topics, and that is the reason why other countries like United States of and Japan have initiated alternative infrastructure efforts, that we will not look at depend on China. We will find more initiatives which are much more better, and that is the reason why it says we are more thinking of more initiatives like Indo-Pacific region. We need to have more, and India has proposed India, Middle East, Europe corridor (IMEC) as an alternative to BRI. We also need to create up. So we have India, Middle East, Europe corridor (IMEC). So again, this is the future of BRI. Definitely, China will definitely increase the power, and we need to find out a lot of how the BRI is going to develop. It's important. So I think you got the politics behind that. They are trying to fund the political aspirations. China is trying to pull the political aspiration as well as the diplomatic angles through creating infrastructure and the proper economic development. So they're powering infrastructure and economic development. That's why on the back end, you can see it's the back, it's the front, it's the front and the back side. They're trying to control the country. So that is the important things. And let's get two questions. What are the main components of BRI, and what region does it aim to connect? What are some of the key goals and criticisms associated with Belt and Road Initiative? So simple questions. Find an answer to that. And next is a very short article regarding measure of the working women. So again, GS paper 1, the role of women and women organization. It's important that you get a quick idea on this. It's a very short editorial, so I thought apply the IAS filter and come up with a point. So have you ever thought, are Indian housewives getting really noticed? Because you see that Indian housewives, I still remember this was a big time question. Everywhere they used to ask this question: is the housewife's contribution added to the national income? Do they contribute? If your mother is a homemaker, do you think she takes a lot of effort, takes care of you, takes care of your family, prepare food for you? She's taking a lot of effort. Even you pay in the hotels. When you go into the hotel, you pay for the money, you pay for the food. But the effort that the housewives or the homemakers in India, the women are taking, is that accounted? So you will see that especially caregiving and domestic duties goes unpaid and unrecognized in India. This is also a new thought that should be actually looked at. And what is the economic impact? Women's unpaid work contributes significantly to the India's economy. So that is not, it's an unpaid work, but it is not officially accounted. That is why I said a homemaker in India who takes care of the family, prepare foods for almost 10 people a day. How are we going? Is that accounted? And it is even said that highlights that recognizing and valuing this labor could impact GDP calculation and labor policy. So it is not calculated. If we calculate it, it can make a huge impact. So women in India often face double burden. What is the double burden? As they work outside the home while still shouldering household responsibilities. So even if the woman is working, you know that when women work, when say morning, say 10 to 5 jobs, you see that they have a double burden. They have the pressure from the, they have a pressure from the office, as well as you have to go back and take care of your family. So that while shouldering and most household responsibilities, this affects the work life balance and overall well-being. So supporting women working outside the home, especially in low income families, it is crucial. So the article discuss about affordable childcare options to enable. So how can you overcome this? First of all, how can you value the work of women? And even the women is working, how can you cut down the double burden? So even childcare options should also be looked upon. And India's women labor force participation rate is relatively low compared to other countries. So the women labor for participation rate is very low compared to the other countries, and emphasizes the importance of dispelling myths and providing adequate support to increase. So definitely we should note the statistics. So this article completely talks about women and the challenges. So what are the main components? So again, this is the same question repeated. So I think we have come to the end of this class and session. So keep subscribing to our channel, LearnStroke IAS classes by Arjun, and please check out and all the other videos and share it with your UPSC preparing friends. So see you at the next editorial. Thank you. Have a great study.